But I am curious now. Speaking of
Mm.
characters, character Gigi. So
Yeah.
what's the origin of Gigi? How did this character come about? What's her story?
Yeah. So obviously I'm a demon from the underworld, but people say that often, depending on what I'm talking about, sometimes I have a bit of like a Brooklyn-esque accent and I
Like
might
a
sound
boss.
Italian American. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I said, why not play a character that's much like that? Seems pretty natural. So I made her because I figured it'd be pretty easy for me to play. It's it just kind of makes a lot of sense for me.
Are you from Brooklyn? Do you naturally have a
Yeah.
Brooklyn accent or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, the way I speak when I'm speaking to people that don't have an accent, my accent normalizes a lot. But then if I call my mother, I full Brooklyn, and I actually started off the character having a heavier accent, and I couldn't keep it up because so many of the characters in the server don't have accents. It's hard for me to just keep doing it when I'm trying to organize stuff in our basement. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not doing like a big bit all the time.
I was gonna ask. So you mentioned Tony. So how did that?
Yeah.
How did that like start? Like, how did that arc start for your character Gigi? So you join NoPixel. You run into what is arguably a legendary character within NoPixel.
Mhm.
What happens? Where do you go from there?
So I was just running around. I had no idea what my purpose was, what I should be doing. I was just walking around, like learning the UI, right? Like,
Mm.
where do I get food? Things like that. I go to the gas station in Little Seoul next to the apartments. I like run to it because, no one has cars or anything. I go there and I'm walking in, and, Tony's sitting there. I think I was in a rental car sitting outside of it. And I was going to be there when I saw him, but he walks past and he does, hey, how you doing? As he
Hey, how
walks
you doing?
past, he's just like saying hi to everyone. I was like, hey, what's going on? And I say it in like, an accent. He goes, you Italian? He turns around. He's like, you Italian? And I start,
You
talking
Italian?
to him and I'm like, yeah, it might be, it might be. And, we introduce and everything. And he immediately is like, take my number, and I do. So,
That was the icebreaker right there.
yeah. It was just talking to each other and hearing that we were both playing like Italian characters. We go, okay, perfect. So exchange numbers, and then he goes off, does something, I do something. A little bit later that day, I think I was doing grime. I was like trying to figure out, okay, I need money. Let's see, day one, everyone is just like rushing to do little jobs and stuff. So I go and do a grime run, and I see him down there because he was also doing grime. And he was like, yeah, we should do grime together. And I was like, yeah. And then it didn't happen. He just kept getting pulled away by all these other characters. And I was like, oh, this must be someone, I guess. And I wasn't streaming this the first day too. I was just like, I guess this is like somebody because his phone is blowing up and like everyone who sees him is like, oh my God, Tony. So I was like, okay. And then I'm streaming the next day. I'm doing grime runs, and we keep running into each other at the docks every time we bring the van back. And at some point, my van breaks down, and I'm stuck at the little delivery area, and I'm just standing there. And I'm basically just podcasting, because I'm just waiting for some other grime driver to come up so I can like hop in their vehicle. And Tony is the one that pulls up, and he's like, "What are you doing?" He's like leaning against the van, and we're like, "Oh my God, faithful encounter!" And we started doing grime, and then it just became like we both realized that we both talk a lot about whatever, and his chat and my chat were like super excited to just watch us talk, because I didn't know this at first, but a lot of people in my chat actually had watched a lot of GTRP before this. So my chat was so excited for me to meet Tony, and they were like, I guess like they were trying to not spoiler for me, or do anything. They were just like letting it happen, but they were like, you should go on grime runs with him, that would be great. They're trying to not say anything, but it was like what they wanted. They thought would be funny. And that was it. We just like did grime a whole bunch. And then I don't know, over time, as I was trying to figure out what to do with myself, if I wanted to keep playing, because I played for like a week at that point, he just started recruiting me, and he was like, I think you should join whatever I'm doing. I don't really know yet, but you should join it. I was like, okay. And there we go. And that's how I got linked up with him and Buddha and Harry and all them.
Which is crazy because now I'm kind of curious. It feels like you had some idea of your character going in. Now, like where you are now, like where is Gigi? Like what is this? Where's this character's inspiration? Like what inspires you to play the character now? And like what's the character about now?
So a lot of my past work before I was streaming is in business, in tech. I had a whole lengthy career before I started streaming. I'm not in my 20s. So I, had this whole thing going on where I worked with numbers a lot. I worked with business, I worked with logistics, all of that. And I saw an opportunity because I was looking at how that crew was kind of running things, and I was talking to the character Lang about how he wanted things to be very businessy, and he was like, everyone's like running around like gangbangers, and I want to make something that feels more like a mafia, which is very integrated with the police, very integrated with business and all of this, appearing clean in some certain ways, applying pressure to people in the background. He was like, I want to do that kind of stuff, and out of character, I could tell he just wanted to do that kind of RP. So I was like, this is perfect for me because that is what I do. I wanted to play a character that probably fell into some crime, but really enjoy this kind of stuff in general and am good at it. So I was like, okay, what real world knowledge here can I apply through my character to make this stuff run well? So that's what I was doing. So at first they had they had Speedy as their accountant when I first got in there.
Oh, that's a
Sorry,
mistake.
treasurer. They don't like that word. Treasurer.
That's a mistake.
Yeah, well, actually, he wasn't good at explaining what was in his books, but his books were airtight. They were actually really good. He knew what he was doing.
Well, that's the problem with Speedy, right? That's
Yeah.
the problem.
Yeah, once he had to express it, it was just all over the place. But he could hand you a book, and the book was correct. So he was doing it for a bit, and of course, all the characters yelling at him constantly, like you're cooking the books, everything's messed up. You're the worst. And he's like, you know what? Fuck it. I don't want to do it anymore. I want to be the warlord. We need a treasure. And I had said to Buddha, or my character said to Lang, if you need help with numbers, logistics, whatever, that is what I am good at. Just let me know if there's anything I could do there. So he immediately was like, you're the treasurer. Didn't even have me, do anything to like audition to say why I would be good at it. I just said, I want to do this. And he went, okay. Because he does that for people, and
Like, gives you an opportunity.
Exactly. Especially if you're newer, he tends to like really want to do that and offer that. So he went, all right, and handed books and said, you're in charge of the money now. Everything goes through you. And so then my character became the person who set up like everything logistically and business wise for our crew. So everyone will report their numbers to her by a certain time, a certain day. Everything that she has reported in by that point throws into an automated spreadsheet and calculates a percentage cut for everyone based off of what part of the pipeline they do. So weed grower gets this much, person pushing the weed gets this much, finalized amount is how we calculate all of that. I can look at like the inventory. If someone took out 200 bags, I know what that should sell for. And we know 200 bags went out because one of the people above them hands it to them. So if they don't bring back enough money, we can be like, okay, well, where is it? Right?
Yeah,
it's like a relatively airtight system. And it makes for a lot of fun RP because then, if a character's trying to snake, do something, they want to make a little extra money, we know so fast and we catch them out on it. And then there's a lot of arguing between my character and like the dons, the heads of everything, where we're constantly trying to say, these people should get this much. No, these people should get that much. And it's just really funny watching them bicker over. They're basically arguing for all of the other characters. Like, no, they do this amount of work, so they should get more of a cut. Like all of that like business arguing RP is actually really fun, and I think there's not a lot of it on the server right now, especially. So it feels unique in that way, and that's kind of where my character has inserted herself.
Yeah, I used to do a little bit more of that RP. Thankfully,
Yeah.
have dodged that.
What happened?
That was
I'm kidding.
Yeah, okay. That was like literally one of the reasons I didn't want to be in the company. I can't do like it's no, but it's actually really funny. You and I have my chat and communities don't actually believe that I have worked real jobs or do any of this, but you and I have a similar thing where I also came from traditional like a desk job working as a game developer. And I even remember in 3.0 doing stuff with Cerberus and Laying Buddha giving me a chance to do stuff with Cerberus, and I hated it. For me, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
I'm like, if I'm not getting paid real money to do this shit, I will not fucking do this. Like, I could not do it.
I get that. See, for me,
I mean, you are getting paid real money. Think about it, right? Because it's content that produces money.
True. As long as they like it.
I'll send you my consulting rate, Sab.
Okay, all right, got you.
Anyways, but it's also interesting because I think what you do for a crew like that is everyone talks about like, oh, there's like a driver, there's shooters, there's hackers.
Mhm.
The person who holds down the logistics, that's the key to a crew. I actually think
The glue.
Yeah.
Yep, for
that's
sure.
the
Yeah.
real glue.
It's true because when I talk to other characters about what's going on with all their stuff, everyone's a mess. Everyone's just all over the place. There's so much drama over things that should have been so easy to figure out instead of drama over like someone really trying to do something, right? Everyone thinks everyone's trying to snake or whatever, and it's just like they dropped money in the wrong spot on the floor, things like that. So I find that I like that my characters I don't want her to fix too much though. I there are times where people are arguing in front of me about something that I know the answer to, and I'll have her just not speak up. Even though
Ooh, you
I
like
know
tea.
like yeah, because my character's too much of a fixer otherwise, I think, right? Like she
Right.
comes in and just fixes everything and then there's like no conflict. So a lot of me playing my
That's
character is me
boring, yeah.
standing there and not talking. Yeah.
Right. You have to let the spice flow a little bit, or else it gets too
Mhm.
stagnant.
Exactly, exactly. And playing a character where the other characters look to her to fix things because it's not just her being the treasure. She's basically HR. She's the reason why Marty and Larry stayed with the crew because they were thinking of leaving and there was all this drama and she went in and fixed that just socially, just recovered everything and kind of motivated them to stay. It was a moment where I was like, I could just choose not to do this and their characters probably would straight up leave. So
Do you think you play her as like a high EQ like character, like who knows like kind of how to like work through
yeah.
social situations?
For sure, for sure. I think it'd be really hard for me to play a character that isn't that, to be honest, because that's how I normally am. So I decided to make it part of the character. But I added in a level of because I personally, OOC, will fix things like this for my friends all the time. Someone's having an issue with someone else, and I'm like, do you want me to step in? Because I can, and I just squash stuff for people. Um, what I do with the character is I have her be tired of it, because I personally am really patient, but I have the character like not want to fix everything for everyone because she gets frustrated or is like, you have to pay me for this, or something like that. And that's kind of a good excuse to not always like step in and fix everything, even though I feel like everyone knows the character just could. And it's to the point where when characters are arguing over something stupid, a misunderstanding that needs to be just talked through, and the communications are just not there, their chat will be spamming, "Save us, Gigi, save us," and it'll just be like flooding the chat. They're like, "Where's Gigi?" Especially if I'm not playing in that moment, it's like they're crying and they're like, "Please, someone get her to log in, please."
From the
It's
sound of
funny.
it, at the end of the, whatever's going to happen, you're going to be running the gang, okay? Or the criminal syndicate.
It's slowly getting there. I think early on there are 5 dons and they all vote on big decisions, right? So odd number, whatever. At some point, Tony wasn't around and they needed to do a major vote that day, and they were just like, Gigi, come here. You're going to be the 5th vote. And she was brought into the conversation with the dons. It was given the power to just cast a vote, which was like a big deal because they didn't want anyone in those conversations or whatever. Then they started
Right.
pulling her into meetings and they're like, well, she's the treasurer, she holds the money, so we have to consult her on these things. And she basically is a don in practice, but tries to not overstep, tries to leave it alone, and just ends up doing a lot of that same work anyway. It's kind of like her and Lang and Speedy doing everything, to be honest.
I'm really glad that you fell into those kind of fell in with those role players like Buddha and Zatark and Speedy and those
Yeah.
guys. Obviously, I'm missing some names as well. I mean,
Yeah.
because the things you're doing today, we dreamt about like 7 years ago when we started role playing. When we talked about criminal syndicates and having people at the top, and you have these mob bosses that have their own group of people that have their own turfs that talk to each other, and you have the head of boss that come to a table and everybody has a
Right.
vote on the table. I mean, we jumped to that, and to hear you talk all about it is pretty cool. So
Yeah, I could tell going into it that was kind of like what especially from Buddha himself. I could tell he was trying so hard to push things in that direction, and the other guys wanted to as well but just weren't sure how to. So he was trying to set up structure, put characters in little roles and things, and then me stepping in and be able to kind of set up the logistics for that so it actually functions helped because you can put characters in roles and say, this is your title, whatever. They don't know what to do with that. It's you need someone kind of telling them exactly how this all works from a logistics standpoint, because if you tell someone you're in charge of this guy, that is too vague. You need specifics of here's how you handle things. They're going to report like the numbers. They're going to report their numbers each week to you. You're going to hand out the bags. So we have inventory. You're going to write down in this book the inventory, right? So like me giving them those specifics makes it so that whole system can happen, because those guys are just not going to do that on their own without someone at least laying it out like an
Right.
outline.
They're
For them.
just gonna pump and dump the product.
Yeah, exactly. So that's been. I'm glad I was able to help with that, because I think if I didn't step in and do those logistics, they would try sort of like the mafia structure, and it would devolve, I think, into like normal.
No, you're the
gang stuff.
glue. You're the
Yeah.
glue. If
Yeah.
you leave, it's over.